Today we're going to be talking about cheating when your partner has gone through chronic illness. This is my mentor, Shams Tabriz.
Hi, thank you, Kate.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you, and my name is Kate London. So let's talk on this subject. It's definitely a really emotional and confusing one to navigate. This is someone's question, and that is, my husband has had cancer for 4 years. He now needs constant care, and our life has completely changed. I met someone who understands what I'm going through, and we started an affair. I'm so torn. I love my husband, but I can't get everything I need from him with all that he's going through. I don't want to abandon my husband, but I also don't want to live a life of secrets. How do I navigate my loyalty to him and my feelings for someone else?
It's a painful situation. The first thing I want to say is I'm so sorry for what you and your husband are going through. That's a painful experience, and for it to be going on for so long, and clearly for the disease to manifest in such a way that it's interfering with your ability to feel connected. Because this is about connection, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so for it to be interfering with your ability to feel connected in that way, my heart goes out to you. And I guess the question deserves to be asked or considered by you. Why has that feeling of connection been lost? Now, in some cases, of course, it will be because the disease itself really interrupts with any form of intimacy. Maybe there's too much pain. Maybe there's too much busyness and just too much. The relationship may have even transformed itself from a partnership to one of patient and caregiver. There may be so much stress that has entered your lives that you can't even appreciate the specialness of your partner anymore because everything has been clouded by the disease and all of the aftermath. And when I say aftermath, I mean the effects that disease has on the family.
I will also want to add here, with your partner going through cancer for so long, you probably wouldn't have felt like you can lean on him at all, or lean on him because you're the one that he's needing to lean on in this time. He can't provide for you in the same way, and so there's a real absence of a lot of these needs that you would have got from him in the past that he hasn't been able to provide for, not just in a short stint of like 3, 6, 9 months, but now it's been ongoing.
Yeah. And I think this is so important to recognize and to honor, to simply acknowledge. Sometimes a big part of the clarity that you get comes from seeing what is at play here, what is impacting me so deeply. The first thing, I think, is not so much even to focus on this affair dynamic that has arisen, but rather to look at what caused that, what invited that in, what invited the possibility that could even manifest. And that's that emptiness that you've been feeling, that lack of attention, that lack of fulfillment within your primary relationship. And of course, you're speaking to the fact that you love your husband and you do not want to leave him. You do not want to leave him stranded. Perhaps you didn't use those words, but that's the way that I interpret it in this moment. And so that's all correct and true and very much a part of that formula. But at the end of the day, this comes down to what are your needs and how can they be fulfilled?
I feel emotional for the person going through this because of how alone you must feel going through this journey.
I think that what you deserve, and notice I am speaking of you, what you deserve is for there to be a greater sense of transparency. You deserve to be transparent with yourself. You deserve to have the clarity to know first and foremost what is lacking in this in my life now. What are the stresses? What are the feelings? How has this changed everything for me? Because certainly the result of this disease is that the relationship dynamic between you and your husband has shifted. That seems to be the variable in the way that you have presented it, because you did not say in your question that your marriage was already struggling, that there was no intimacy before. And so we will presume that that was a healthy relationship leading up to the cancer. And that now over time, there is a feeling of emptiness that has allowed you to be drawn into something that clearly you're not happy about. You're not completely happy about it. It might be fulfilling you on some levels, but there is a feeling of betrayal in there. There's a feeling of not wanting to do this, not wanting to participate in something that is contradictory to the intent behind this marriage that you have formed. And so there are no easy answers here, but there is certainly an important part of you honoring yourself and understanding compassionately what has happened to alter these dynamics. And from that place, perhaps some clarity can emerge as to how this subject can be addressed, because it is a subject that deserves to be addressed. You can bring your problems into a dynamic in which someone else also has problems. And so in this situation where your husband is the one who is suffering through potentially a life-threatening disease, it doesn't mean that you also are not suffering through this and don't have your own unique experiences that don't deserve to be heard. And to even be able to look at it from the perspective of this horrible thing that has come into our lives, this disease has altered our relationship. You see?
Yeah. At the moment, it's kind of what do I do with these two situations or relationships that I'm in? If you go into the affair relationship and commit fully to that, you wouldn't have fully processed the extent of pain that you have had to face through this cancer and your primary relationship.
Absolutely. This is one of those opportunities, perhaps, to actually hit the pause button on the affair relationship and to spend some time honoring yourself, reflecting upon the truth of your situation, and gaining some clarity from that, at least to give you the strength and the courage either to have a conversation with your husband, not about the affair relationship, that's not what I'm saying, but at least about what it is that you are suffering through and how difficult this is also for you and the impact it is having upon you. You have a right to share that, and potentially, if necessary, even to draw in family members into that conversation, because clearly there's a big part of what's happening in your life right now that you're doing completely on your own.
Yeah.
Which then actually does invite the kind of a private engagement with someone who you can confide in. And that's what...
Lean on.
Yeah, someone to lean on. And that's what can then very quickly develop into an affair relationship.
And I think also this is where affair relationships, especially around illness, can feel so potent, because when crisis happens in our life, we really stick close to people and we need to lean on people. And so the depth of your affair relationship probably feels so strong and something that is something that you're really depending on right now. And yet also, how can we get some of these needs met initially first in what has been happening in your life?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I appreciate your clarity on this subject as well, and your ability to say that this won't ultimately fulfill you, and it can't be fulfilling you completely.
Yeah.
And I think you can feel comfort that that's what that inner voice is telling you. That's this feeling of discomfort, this feeling of this is not right. It need not be perceived as a judgment. This is not a societal judgment that affairs are bad. This is not how we approach the work that we do. We approach the work in a way of helping you understand what are the dynamics at play that lead you to make certain choices in life that lead ultimately to unfulfilling experiences. And our objective is to help you strengthen yourself and feel more empowered and come from a healthy mindset, a healthy emotional space, so that you are able to make choices in your life that do fulfill you. And that's ultimately what you do need. You are in a very, very difficult situation right now. It cannot be easy to be coping with all that comes with an ill husband. And so you deserve to have compassion for yourself with all of that, but also to not place your needs as secondary or even tertiary. It's or almost hidden. Your needs are just as important. They just are different.
Yeah. In this, no affair situation is the same, and every person's path to their own fulfillment is going to look completely different, and the actions that are taken are going to look completely different. And some affairs are meant to... people are meant to be together, some aren't. And in this situation, I think we don't know your exact situation, but just by the way that it's been written, a lot of the feeling of feeling torn is because there has been stuff that has been unresolved in the primary relationship without it being a breakdown before the cancer came into your life.
Exactly. And as Kate said, every situation is different, but ultimately the healthy way forward is resolution, not incompletion. So many people are existing in this in-between state of perhaps being unfulfilled in a marriage and then engaging in an affair relationship, but not resolving one in order to fully appreciate the other, or vice versa, having become embroiled in an affair relationship that in itself is unfulfilling, and then potentially not having paid enough attention to the primary relationship in order to make it ultimately rewarding. In either case, it is always my intention to help you achieve resolution so that whatever relationship ultimately you choose for can be completely fulfilling and rewarding in all ways that you deserve to have in your lives.
Yeah, and it can feel like, how? If I'm going to choose for my husband, how? Because this is the state we're in and we can't change. Like, if we could change that, we would have. But there are ways that we can support you through that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you want support on this journey, Shams and I both offer private support as well as group work where you have weekly calls with us in a community. If you want to find out more about that, you can click the link below. And if you have a question on infidelity and you'd like your specific question to be answered, you can also click on the link below.